Hey everybody, it's Amanda Shertzer, part of your lightworkers support team. This is my forecast and predictions for 2022 and beyond, because some of it just obviously goes beyond just this year. So the first day I channeled was on December 12th, and I felt like I wasn't really getting as good a connection as I wanted. I wanted really specific details. I wanted places, I wanted names, and I felt like I just wasn't getting that. So I quit that session, didn't finish it, and then I tried a different approach a couple days later. So this is what I got on the first day. The first day I was looking at major disasters, and I should have known that my guides do not like reporting on potentials about major disasters, because then we focus on, oh, this bad thing might happen this year, or this bad thing is going to happen this year, and they don't really want us to do that. They want us to focus on what we want to happen, because the energy down here can shift if we all, just stopped focusing on disasters and started focusing on, what beautiful things we could create. Then we wouldn't have disasters. But anyway, this is what I saw for 2022. I should say, first of all, water just seems like a huge theme this year. And mostly this is for the U.S. Because on the second day, I just gave up with world predictions, and I just stuck with the U.S. because I don't know everything that's going on in the whole world. I don't keep up with all the news. And so even if I'm shown something, I often can't figure out what it's about because I just don't know anything about that. So, but for the U.S., I did see a lot of water, a lot of flooding. Yeah, and mud. I saw a lot of mud. So I don't know. It doesn't look pretty for the rainy seasons here in the U.S., especially along the coast. I did also get the feeling that some barriers that were put in place on the coast to keep the water out are not going to work already. Like, they just put them in and they're not good enough. So just to be prepared, if you live in a place that's likely to flood, just make sure that you're prepared for it. Let's see. I saw some kind of structure breaking and water getting through. It looked a little different. Last year, I thought it was something around New York. I don't know where it is this year, and it looked a little different, but it's some kind of structure that breaks and water gets through, and I don't think that's supposed to happen. I mean, obviously, that's not a big help, but like I said, a lot of water. Anything around water, there's going to be a lot of it. Rain, and more rain and flooding. They also said destruction of power systems, mainly old grid systems, will crash that haven't been upgraded. So definitely be prepared. Have food, have extra water. Make sure you can flush your toilet. I know that you have heat in the winter, because I know last year in Texas was pretty bad. It was extremely bad. I'm just going to say pretty bad. Let's see. Some bridges. Yeah, this one I did get. There's some bridge in an Asian country that looks like it collapses on one side where the bridge attaches to the land. I can't remember now whether I saw people there or not, but there was a bridge collapse. There was also a collapsed church that I saw, and I can't tell if it's from an earthquake or a bombing or what. Just like shaking. It's a shaking that causes it to fall. So that could be because of a bombing or, just because of an earthquake. Okay, let's see. Major volcano. Yeah, the names they gave, I tried to get names for where this volcano is going to go off. Could not get it. The names they gave me were just, gobbledygook that didn't, I looked up the names and they didn't make any sense for anything. But there is going to be a big volcano that erupts, but if you don't have a place. So if you live near a volcano, also be prepared. Be prepared to leave. Let's see. Earthquake southwest of Italy. I don't remember channeling these things, so whatever. Earthquakes in Paris, ? A few earthquakes along the northern Mississippi River. That seems unusual to me. There are some around the New Madrid Fault, which is in the corner of the northeast corner of Arkansas, or near the northeast corner of Arkansas, because I live in Arkansas. But it seemed like these were farther north than that. And then I guess I typed looking for unusual earthquakes or major damage, and it says the Mediterranean, upper east of South America, Northern California. Hurricanes in the Gulf again. And I'm not sure if this is my... It's hard not to extrapolate things with your imagination after you receive, you get the signal. And usually I get like a 3-second video and it just loops. That's it. I get the 3 seconds. That's it. It's not going to continue. Like, I really just want it to play for 3 or 4 minutes so I can really get an idea of what's going on. But it was a couple of hurricanes, and they look like one went west and one went east. Now, I don't think that can happen at the same time, so that may just be 2 different ones. But it was in the Gulf of Mexico. Possibly one hitting Georgia as well, or South Carolina. As far as tornadoes, I saw a big scar, what looked like a big scar from Oklahoma into lower Missouri, and then it just went up diagonally towards the northeast. I don't think that's the one that we just had. So, because pretty sure I channeled after that, the one that we just had that destroyed so much in Kentucky. All right, as far as major violence, shootings, wars, stuff like that, I saw tanks, and it has something to do with an Asian country. They were speaking an Asian language. It sounded some Asian thing. And they were like threatening civilians, it seemed like. But I didn't feel like it was an actual war. I felt like it was just a threat. So maybe China or North Korea threatening to do something. But I don't see an actual war around that. And then with Russia and the Ukraine, I got the word posturing. I feel like there's some ulterior motive for Russia here. I don't know what they're doing, at the border of the Ukraine. What are they, what's going on? I don't know. I just feel like it's not what it looks like. And it's like, it has to do with the U.S. Like, they're trying to get us to do something, or trying to get us not to do something. Or they're trying to do something while we're distracted, or something like that. It's not really to do with Russia and the Ukraine. So that was kind of weird. In Afghanistan, Taliban gone wild was kind of like the theme. Like, it's like their parents are gone and they're just wrecking the place. It's sad. We need to, send love and light there for sure. Send love and light to all these places for sure. There's some concert with a young woman with reddish brown hair. And I think she's a singer. She seemed like a singer. And I'm not that big into the music scene, so it was hard for me. I just looked up the biggest young singers I could find, whether it was country or pop or whatever. And the closest that looked like what I saw was Maisie Peters. And I don't even know if I'm saying her name right. So, I don't know. Something happens at a concert with her. I'm not sure if it's a shooting or a scandal or what. Something weird happens around that. But this is under the major violence thing. I'm not sure what happens. I also see, I don't know, it just says a disgruntled person in California may just go mad and start shooting people. Male, slightly balding, and it looks like Ed Greene. I think he's an actor. I need to look that up and verify. I'll put it in the notes if I find it. I forgot to look that up. Maybe in Nevada too. I'm not really sure. And then I have some kind of violence at another club in Florida. Not good. And that was it. That was it for That was it for my first day of channeling. And I had so many more things I wanted to channel about, but I was like, I just don't feel like I feel like I'm not doing something right. And maybe it's just because I was channeling a bunch of bad stuff and I just couldn't continue to do that. All right. So on the next day I channeled, which I believe was the 14th, for technology, new technology, they were showing me something like in the 70s, early 80s, when people were talking about personal home computers, nobody thought that everybody would need a personal home computer. And so it was kind of laughed about and not taken seriously. And then, of course, personal computers took off, and they're huge, and everybody's got a laptop, or, everybody carries a phone, which is like a personal computer now. So they're telling me there's another thing coming that's as big as this. And I feel like it has to do with what I'm calling a home med station and a personal med device. So it's kind of like an expansion of the Fitbit or the smartwatches like Apple and Samsung, where they can take your heart rate and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, the usual stuff, track your sleep patterns and whatnot. But I feel like they'll be able to do more. And not only will we have the personal ones, we'll have something that seems a little bigger. I mean, I'm envisioning it bigger. It might not be, but for home, like for a whole family. And I'm not sure what that entails. And if I try to imagine what that is, I'll probably get it wrong. Because remember when, I remember when I was little, we would go on long trips and I would say, I wish we had a TV for the car. And my parents would say, oh, that wouldn't work because we're driving, between stations and your station would always change. You wouldn't get to watch what you wanted. And, now we have like DVD players in the cars, and we have, we can watch movies on our phones as we drive. So, what you imagine something to look like today is probably not going to be exactly, you could come up with the idea, but it's not going to look exactly the same as you imagine it. So I'm not sure what these med station things will be, but I did see that they will evolve to be sort of biofeedback devices, like little kids in elementary school will have these watches on. So if the whole class starts getting really stressed out, the teacher will know it, so she can get feedback as to how to teach more effectively, because your kids can't learn when they're freaked out. Like your frontal lobe shuts down and you can't learn anything. You can't process stuff. So anyway, that's the tech that seems like it's coming, the next big thing. So it'll be interesting to see what that's like. And that's not 2022. That's like, this is the introduction of that, and it'll go on. I don't think it'll be like a decade like it was for PCs, or 20 years. I think it'll be shorter than that. Okay. So for the markets, inflation, recession, again, I'm seeing the chart, just like last year. I'm seeing the chart where the line dips below the chart, which doesn't make any sense. And I wonder if for last year, I was seeing it because Bitcoin took a dive for a while. It came back up. And I'm wondering if this time I'm seeing it because of the housing market. Not sure. Or if, I feel like there's going to be a recession. How big of a recession? I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, it says the billionaires are expecting it. They've already prepared. Just prepare for a recession. Prepare for your natural disasters and a recession. And that's all you can do. Just be prepared. All right, again, I'm seeing weather is just water. Huge, huge, huge rains. A rise on the coastline, a sea level rise along the coastline. Yeah, that's it. I just saw so much water. Water everywhere. Water everywhere. Not a drop to drink. All right, about the virus. It seems like when I checked on the virus, that was not the biggest news story of the year. It was hunger and supplies due to disasters and to the economy. So the bigger story this year is we've got to feed our own hungry people and concentrate on how to get things to them in the case of natural disasters. And I had a weird flash of medbed tech. And it looked like somebody was laying basically in something that looked like a tanning bed. And this, you know how scanners, the little light goes from the top to the bottom? It was kind of like that, only it was top and bottom, and it was red and blue light. It was like it was scanning. And then they could target where the most help was needed in the body. So I don't think that's 2022. I think that's on down, but sometimes stuff bleeds through. If it's like a really important piece that, that's really sort of a big deal to us now, that'll be really cool when it arrives or when we develop it or whatever, when we're ready for it. Okay, I'm just scanning through my notes here. People without access to resources are stressed and become ill, and the cycle just continues. We'll teach self-sufficiency and help them start and tend gardens. And then I have in quotes greenhouse program. Not sure if that's my idea that popped into my head or that's something that came through. I think this is them giving us advice as to how to mitigate some of the problems we're going to see. But then this definitely is something that's coming in the future. Auto taxis. This is something that we're going to try to do to alleviate the strain on the poorest populations, people who can't afford to get to work. It'll be like a automatically driven taxi that will take them to their jobs. It says, first combat mental health crisis by improving conditions. And I said, that seems like the least efficient way to me. And then they said, doing it this way opens them up to be able to even think about a different way to process things, a different way to respond and cope. Because when you're really stressed out, like I said, your frontal lobe, which is your executive function that helps you plan, organize, put things into practice, when you're in fight, flight, or freeze, which I think a lot of the most poor people are just in freeze. They can't do anything. You're too overwhelmed. And when you're overwhelmed like that, you can't function. So they're saying you've got to combat the mental health crisis first. So, let's see. And that led into, I guess it was like a supply shortage thing. You know how we're having trouble getting things places. So they're saying there's the opportunity for us to look around at what's locally available and make supplies that are needed for people locally, so we don't have to ship them so far. So, like, if you have an abundance of, I don't know, something that you make tea out of, then, make the tea and sell it locally so people can get tea. Or, if you have tons of wood already cut or something, make whatever's needed that you need out of the wood. And, whatever. I'm just throwing out some ideas here, but they're just saying, look around at what you have locally. And they didn't even say share it. They're like, just sell it, make it available locally and tell people about it so that they don't have to wait for supplies of things to get to them. All right. It may not work in your area. It works in my area because I live in a small town. So if I wanted to make teas out of, marigolds or something, then I could just grow marigolds like crazy and make tea. So what do you have that you have an abundance of locally? Okay, what else? Crypto looks like it eventually overshadows the dollar like a big monster about to, chomp it and eat it up. Yeah, I don't understand the whole crypto thing, so I was trying to parse that out. It looks big, but I can't see, unless we have a big paradigm shift as far as the way people look at things, I can't imagine the US government allowing crypto to be bigger than the dollar, because the value of the dollar decreases while crypto is increasing. So it would be much better to be paid in crypto because the crypto is increasing over time, but the dollar is not. So it doesn't really, I don't know. There's something around that, something around like crypto is more beneficial for the worker, not necessarily for the government. Like I said, I'm not really into all that. And crypto looks pretty steady as a whole in 2022. So I don't think there'll be any big craziness. And if there is, it'll, iron itself out. How will people be helped by the government during a recession, if we have a recession? It looks like they're going to send food and supplies to the communities that are the hardest hit, but it's just a Band-Aid. We really need to, do something to solve bigger problems constantly so that we don't have this issue of this big difference between rich and poor, the richest and the poorest, in our country. It says we'll need to mobilize volunteer healthcare and dentists and supplies, transportation, food for anyone without a job or money. For the communities with a higher percentage of unemployed. Child care tax credit gets extended, but with a fight, and it's not for a year, it's for a short time. They're saying for energy, whatever we can power by wind would be good for this year, particularly in the Midwest, which makes me think there's going to be a lot of wind in the Midwest this year. There is a lot of wind right now here where I am. I don't know if you can hear it or not. And then the very last thing that I channeled was that nature is moving people out of areas where the population is too big for nature to support in certain areas. So fires in California are moving people out of that area. There are too many people for the natural surroundings to support. And I think that's true in different areas. It says, or they say, it's not sustainable. So nature is sort of like trying to move the populations into different areas or spread them out so that the nature itself, the surroundings, there are enough resources for the people who live there. So we're just too concentrated in certain areas. There's, if New York City had to suddenly, farm for all their food, then, Central Park, I guess, would turn into a big farm. I don't know, but I still don't know if there'd be enough food for everybody. Anyway, that's all I got. It looks like there's some really cool things coming up in the next 10 years. Yeah, new technologies for sure around health, which I'm looking forward to. Not sure. Yeah, it's just so hard to look too far ahead because certain things, like I said, have to happen for, the next step to happen. And so, well, we'll just have to wait and see. But it looks encouraging. I do feel like at the end of, the next 10 years, everything's going to be like very, very different. Very, very different. It's just improvements are going to speed up, I think. So fingers crossed. I know there are a lot of predictions videos out there that are all doom and gloom. And like I said, I don't really like to channel that because we need to focus on just being prepared ourselves. Not because we're scared, but because, stuff happens. Sometimes there's a tornado and you can't get food and water from the grocery store because it got demolished. And do you want to wait for somebody to truck in food, or do you want to have your own and some to share for your neighbors? Or do you want to talk to your neighbors about, hey, you might consider, stocking some water and whatnot? And just, it's not fear. It's just, well, stuff happens sometimes. And if it happens, then, it'd be nice to have this, and this. and focus on the good things coming down the line, the good medical things, the good natural remedies like light therapies and sound healing and, whatnot. And we're the ones that are here to set the vibration, set the frequency for other people to align with. And that makes the world a better place. So let's do that for 2022 and we'll see how it goes. And that's it for now. Much love, you guys. Bye.